Welcome back to CN2 Sports. We're here at Rupp Arena for the Boys Sweet 16. I'm joined by Mark Story from the Lexington Herald Leader. Mark, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Chip.
Now, tell me, I know you've covered quite a few Sweet 16s and attended as a young lad. I promised you I wouldn't bring up Paul Andrews. I know you're a diehard North Hardin guy, but what are some of your favorite Sweet 16 memories?
Well, you mentioned my worst Sweet 16 memory. I was a senior at North Hardin in 1982 when Paul Andrews hit the half-court shot to beat us in the state finals. You know, I go back, my first Sweet 16, I was like 6 years old, and Jimmy Dan Connor was playing for Anderson County. And in my mind, Jimmy Dan Connor's always been bigger than, Michael Jordan, just because he was, kind of the first star I ever saw in person. So, I go back a long way. I remember Rick Jones hitting that famous shot to beat Lexington Catholic and, just all kinds of great memories. J.R. Van Hoos. I was there the night Richie Farmer scored 51 points against Ballard and Allen Houston, but Ballard still beat Clay County. And so this has always been probably my favorite Kentucky event.
And there's always some names that kind of blow up during this week. I know we saw a couple years ago Anthony Hickey. Seems like the hot name this year is Dominic Hawkins from Madison Central. Tell me what you think about Dominic. I know Coach Calipari's here, Antigua's here, Kenny Payne's here. He's gotten a lot of UK interest. What have you seen out of him this year?
I think he's good enough to play high major Division I basketball. I sort of feel sorry for Morehead State and Western, who recruited him incredibly hard and probably are going to lose out here at the end. I think he's good enough to play at Kentucky. I don't know that he's good enough to come in and play a big role right away. I think by the end of 4 years he could be a good player at the UK level. But I also know that schools like Alabama and Tennessee and Purdue are making a run at him. So it'll be interesting if UK offers. Then the kid's got kind of a decision. Does he want to go somewhere that he knows he can play real early, or does he want to come to UK on the chance that by the end he becomes an important player?
Could it be a good thing for Cal to recruit a local? Some of the one and done issue. Obviously, this year it hadn't worked out as well. To recruit a local kid who will probably be here 4 years, that could carry some weight with him as well, you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think they need some experience. I think what we've seen this year at Kentucky is a team with all one and dones with no experience at Kentucky. Julius Mays obviously has experience, but not at UK. With no experience at Kentucky, it doesn't work as well. So I think one way to build that is to have guys from the state for whom wearing a Kentucky uniform would mean a lot. And I think those guys would be willing to stay 4 years and would be, but they need to be good enough that they can play.
Right.
I mean, Darius Miller, can be a calming influence and even somewhat of a leader if he's on the court. You can't do that if you're not good enough to play some.
Speaking of the Wildcats, a lot of people look at tomorrow's game with Georgia as do or die. I mean, if they lose, is it NIT?
I think if they lose at Georgia but were to beat Florida and then win a game or two in the SEC tournament, I think they could still get in. Obviously, I think it's much better for them if they win at Georgia, not to take any kind of risk. I think, to me, the Florida game is sort of their do-or-die game. I think if they win that game, they can get in. I think if they don't win that game, they're in deep trouble.
Right, and let's talk about the national basketball scene, college basketball scene. Indiana, who, myself included, I thought they were the best team in the country. At this point, they lose at home to Ohio State. If you had to fill out a bracket right now, who are you picking to win the national championship?
Well, I can't bring myself to pick this team. I think the best team I've seen is Miami.
Really?
I really do. I was more they killed Duke at Miami, but I was more impressed with how well they played against Duke and Cameron. Now, do they have the tradition and the tournament experience and that kind of stuff to go all the way? I'm skeptical. But the problem this year is there's a big flaw on any team. I've sort of come back to Louisville. At the start of the year, I thought they were the best team, and I'm starting to think, they may have the best chance now. But having said that, I do not trust their guard play. I mean, I know they took them to the Final Four last year, and maybe they will again. But, Russ Smith, God bless him, and even Peyton Siva, you just never know for sure what you're going to get.
Right. And let's look at the rest of the Sweet 16 bracket. Madison Central leading comfortably at the break. A lot of people think it's going to come down to them and Ballard, which would be a Dominic Hawkins, Quentin Snyder matchup on a Sunday at 2 p.m. That I know the people at the KHSAA, that's a scenario I'm sure they'd be glad to see.
That would be a great Sweet 16 final. Madison Central has a huge fan following that I think will grow if they continue to win. And I think Ballard will have fans. And you're right, it would be arguably one of the best seniors, if not the best senior, against the best junior. That would be an awesome final.
What you wrote a column earlier this week that you thought that moving the finals to Sunday was a good move. Tell me about your thought process behind that.
Well, if you look at the NCAA tournament, the Final Four on Saturday, the semifinals, are arguably the focal point of the entire tournament. In Kentucky, with our system, which has always been the semifinals in the morning and the finals Saturday night, the semifinals are totally overshadowed. My thought process is that if you play the semifinals on Saturday night and then the finals on Sunday, you have two huge events, and that would be good overall for the health of the tournament. So I guess we'll get a look this year and see if there's anything to that.
There's always some great storylines at the Sweet 16. You always have a lot. Is there a school or maybe that not a lot of people are talking about that you think could make a run or that you're interested in or fascinated with this week?
I'm really interested to see Covington Holmes, who has a great sophomore guard, and Beetle Bolden. I'm really interested to see Hopkinsville because sometimes teams come in out of Western Kentucky and are completely overlooked. And I'm interested to see Montgomery County, coached by Happy Osborne, the former Georgetown coach. If they could win a couple of games, they too have a huge following, and you might see some humongous crowds in Rock.
Spring football is on the horizon. Ticket sales for the spring game off the charts for UK. We've talked about this a couple times. Every time we talk, it seems like Mark Stoops has done something else to raise the bar here at Kentucky with Kentucky football.
Yeah, there's no question, Chip. I don't know that I've ever seen the buzz at quite this level. Maybe after the year that Brooks and Andre Woodson and those guys won the Music City Bowl the first year going into 2007, but I'm not sure even that the hype is at the level it is now. Hopefully when the actual games start, they can play well enough to justify some of this.
Right, that's what I was going to say. He set the bar so high. Is it a situation where he's going to have a hard time? Or have expectations grown to the point where he may have a hard time living up to those in the first year?
Maybe, although I think people are so invested, they're going to be looking for a reason to believe. So I think that works to his advantage. But yeah, it would be good if they could win, 5 or 6 games as opposed, just to justify some of the buzz.
Now, I asked you about your March Madness, your NCAA bracket. You fill out your Sweet 16 bracket. Who are you penciling in as champion on Sunday?
Well, I'm going to go with Madison Central. Ballard probably is the best team, but I just think if Madison Central gets there, they'll have a huge crowd advantage, and that might carry them over.
All right, Mark. Well, hey, thanks a lot for joining us. Enjoy the Sweet 16. CNT Sports will return in just a moment.